You survived episode 1. Let's get this head off. Now, I've never taken one of these off before, but it seems like this is simple enough to do without any instruction. It's a 2.0 split port induction, whatever. But you watch a few YouTube videos, you call it good. I mean, I could take the intake off. I've seen people just lift the whole thing up. Intake. Well, I might want to take the exhaust off. It's just going to make it easier to pull it up here. So, timing belt. Look how loose that is. Jeez. Timing cover, timing belt. The whole thing's got to come up. So let's see here. Is that actually broken? I didn't break it. Jeez. What's going on over here? But it does not seem too complicated without reviewing all the instructions. Somebody said to remove the alternator, or the belt, accessory belt, to get the timing cover. I'm already there. Whatever. I follow no instructions. And looking here, we have our fuel rail. Right here, what's holding our fuel rail down? We got a 10 millimeter right there. I mean, squeeze and pull, easy enough. Pull the fuel rail off, lift it up, and then you can get access to these bolts right here. And they look like 12s. That might be hard for you to see, but they are hiding back there kind of underneath the fuel. Not an overly complex project. It's just, there's nuance, there's a lot of pieces in here. Maybe that's why some people, when replacing the head gaskets, choose to just pull off the intake with it. This being the intake. How is this a split port induction? Split port induction 2000. How? I see one inlet here. I don't see anything. It seems like one input there. I don't know. I don't know. Well, let's get our 10s off. That's easy enough to pull off. Actually, well, the fuel rail is going to come off all on its own. Looks like there is a little, it's not quite a banana clip. What do you call that? Pull it off with a flathead, pry it in there, pop it off. We should get fuel everywhere at that point. Where's the return? Hiding over there. Doesn't seem too complicated. We're not in over our head just yet. I'm stopping myself short from saying we're doing things the right way. Far from it. But way? More right? Looking at this. Yeah, not a very big exhaust manifold. We've got some, what are those, 12s right there? If I had to guess. Well, if we're going to get this out, we can repair that nut we broke as well. So, I see, I'm hiding back there, 1, 2, 3, 10? 9 or 10? But we have our EGR going around, so let's pull that one off first. It's going to be a 10 millimeter. I will take care not to gouge my radiator. There's 2 bolts holding that on? There are. Here, you can see how tough that is. Whew. You know, not too bad. I know better. Oh, geez. Do I know better? No, I do not. All right. That's just a... Is that a breather? We still need to get that EGR off. One thing or another, huh? Ooh. This is my favorite thing, I swear. Ooh, and get the top one. She doesn't have much torque. So you're not using it to break bolts or loose. But you saw it on the bottom when doing the oil pan. Good enough for that. Oh, she's just ready to come right off, huh? There's another mount back there. Let's get these 12. They are actually 13s. Or a half. Maybe we should do this properly. We were just talking about how we're doing things right here. Not everything can be perfect. A 13 is not quite a half. See, they're a bit hard on there. Even. Oh, gotta try to hit that trigger while I'm doing this. We do not want to strip these. There's always one that's going to be harder to get to. This, if you remove the alternator, easy access right there. But I got her hand loose here, and I use the box wrench. Quick side trek on the Crescent. Absolute junk. I took the name of a fine American company, and yes, you can get whatever quality of good you want from China, and it's all great, but they chose junk. And I assume it's China on here, because they are junks. The 10 isn't quite a 10. Look at those lips there. She's not so accurate. Well, that last one, the alternator, I mean, you're going to be finagling in there for a long time. I thought it was just quicker just to remove the alternator. And I didn't quite remove it. I just unbolted it. She's loose. I'll be able to pull her out just enough. Well, she's coming off. the swivels here, I suppose, no half measures. This is a life lesson that I need to learn time and time again, and repeatedly, because I got it. And I got the alternator fully pulled out there. I'll leave it there for a minute. Now for the rest of these. Coming out nicely. Do that 30 pounds work. O2 sensor. What I dropped there? Get that unplugged. I mean, if you haven't seen one of these, you just poke and pull. Poke, or actually maybe I can do it one-handed. Probably not. Ah, haha, look at that. Well, now for this thing, it should be completely off. They kind of get stuck on there, fair warning. Before I start beating on it, maybe I should get all the bolts off. And here we are. Very nice. Oh, that's actually not too bad at all. A nice piece of cast iron right here. Of course, the bung gets cut there. Head disassembly must continue. See here? Well, every head now has antifreeze flowing through it. There's a petcock. Get your laughs out of you now, you immature kids. How tight is it? Oh, actually pretty tight. Left-handed, let me try that. Jeez. We got the tools for this. That's too big. I gotta stop losing bolts. This is going to be a problem later. There we go. Luckily, they made this kind of easy. As you can see, we got a hole there. Or is it just going to come out the front? Oh, that antifreeze is nasty. Really? Really? All right, let's get this hose off so she can breathe a little bit. All right, got it off. The factory clamps. All right, the bottom of that looked horrendous. Oh, still does. That is either rust or somebody did a head gasket in a bottle on this thing. I don't know. Well, here we are. Head is draining. What I'm gonna do, I don't know. Is there is a pattern. I'm just gonna do one at maybe a quarter turn. All right. We got the Torx here. They put some Ugdas on these. I should be smarter. The timing belt's still on. Alternator is out and goes on the pile. It's got to come out because there's this bolt here going directly into the head. I think if I pull that bolt out, I don't need to bother. Bolting onto the head, out. It is a 15. Just plow forward on the intake, or not the intake, the head, and see what happens. Now I loosen them all a little bit. There we go. I'm doing it in the scientific order. Yes, installation will be done properly, because that's important, because if you don't, you will in fact break your head. It's an aluminum head. It's a cast piece. There's not too much room for my shenanigans here. What the heck? All right, I think now this should not be used for this, but as you can see, it's a lot of threads there. So if you don't want to be ratcheting for the rest of your day, just zip them off. You can zip it on. Use the lowest setting. Oh, that shouldn't be. Uh-oh. The lowest setting. There's like no foot-pounds of torque, pretty much. And look at that. Proof that in the late 90s, Ford knew how many threads to fix things with. Interesting. That's the last one. That was right there. But every single other one of these guys is smothered in oil. I mean, side note, interesting. You know, there will be challenges. I'd be more surprised if there wasn't. But we're coming together nicely. See, just roll the timing belt off, and should be a few good hits, and she's going to come right off. I got to remove some accessories, because I think I am going to take the intake off. So for intake, how many bolts? I see one right there. So the fuel rails definitely got to go out of the way. Let's pull this guy off. I already got that little banana clip off. Oh, would you look at this? Actually comes off easier than I expected. Except that bunch of stuff still in the way. Yeah, it's getting sketchier by the moment, more involved at the moment. Just pulled the pigtail off for that. Let's do the same on this big plug here. It's just the same thing. Kind of hard to tell. But I think if I get those wires off, lift the thing. Well, we still got the fuel lines attached. Still got that attached. Was that a vacuum reservoir? Yeah, gotta be. We are so close, and it is so very nice. I mean, this head is off. It's getting late. I'm hungry. I got other things to do, and here I am. So, We will reconvene. This will be a dip to black, and then it'll be the next day, and we will continue here. Another day of some Ford escorting, and we will carry on, we will plow through, we will truck on, and we will persevere. Continued from last time. It's been a hot minute since I've been in here. It hasn't been that long, just a little bit. So, injectors, easy enough. That's a squeeze connector. Pull them straight off. I need to do another clip over there. And it looks like down here, might be, or definitely hard for you to see. You know, a GoPro would be perfect for this sort of thing. Hide underneath there, or is a 12mm bolt, it looks like. Let me see, am I right on? 12 mil, is it? Or is it a half? You know, this is an odd mix match. No, she's not a 12. Well, let's see here. We'll try a half. A proper 1/2 inch, and that is perfect. Now, once again, I think I gave you my commentary on the last one on these Crescent. Shelling out the name for everything, profits, whatever. I don't know what they're doing, but this is absolute junk. If you look at the end there, that is not straight. It's ribbed, and unlike this, it is not for my pleasure, because that, especially the 10mm, first of all, the 10mm doesn't fit on a lot of 10mm bolts, and that causes a problem. The half, I mean, it's a 1/2 inch, there's enough play in there so long as it fits over, but you are at risk of stripping. This side, I'm happy with that side, but the half, just the inaccuracy, the crustiness, and I thought I was getting a good thing. Crescent used to be a fine American brand. More of American than whoring out your name. I assume somewhere there's a proper tool to remove this fuel line. We're talking about how to remove that. I assume that's Googleable. Everything's Googleable. If I can get this far end off, where's the return? Yeah, there's a return line. I might need to actually pull it off. So here we have the harness for the fuel injectors. And right here, what's this guy here? Is this something for that big solenoid looking thing right there? That's something for the split port induction. Now I can't say, I don't know, I've had a 97 before, but I've not really like driven it that much. I did have a 97, it was a piece of junk. Well, like every Ford Escort. This is a washing machine. There we go. Mat off. Crinkly, crinkle, crunkle. Is that for some sort of weird induction thing? I'm gonna assume so. But here we are with a 13 on there, fitting perfectly. So what the Flip Craftsman spoke, not Craftsman, Crescent. Are they related to each other? Is this a big ordeal? This is a big grift. You spend some time trying to avoid the usual suspects here, but for the money, unless you're spending a boatload of money, best hand tool you can get. And the idea was taking a step up from this stuff. It's not really, this is perfectly serviceable and perfectly nice. Hold on. Tightening. Oh yeah, a ratcheting wrench is, oh, I wasn't moving it earlier. That's how bad this is. I thought it actually broken the bolt loose, but, or not loose, but I was just stripping it probably. So, you can bring up the rear here. Well, that's a cautionary tale about taking that step up in tools for quality. I mean, observe what you're actually doing here. I regret this purchase, and they were not that cheap. I think they were like $40 for a standard, like 7 or 9 piece. I do this so you don't have to. So do as I say, not as I do. Broke off the top 4. Once again, those are 13s or half, whatever. And make itself easier. These are easy enough to remove. And why is there 3 of them here? Oh, transmission. It still uses the old style transmission. Does it? Nope, that's got to be cruise control right there. Is it? Yeah. We got one here going over to cruise control. And we're going to have another going to the throttle and another going to the transmission. It's a TV cable. And this year, we're still using TV, not an electrically, well, it's probably got an electrically controlled overdrive or something. Overdrive solenoid. Now, when I say do as I say, not as I do, pulling these off, going through this effort here, when I know for a fact that I shouldn't have, because I know there's bolts on the bottom, there's got to be. Maybe in that instant, I should not have been so hard on the crescent wrench. Not the crescent wrench, like the adjustable wrench, like the crescent wrench. Here we have a half. That does not fit. My comments about the crescent wrench and the 10mm is absolutely true. This is a problem I've run into time and time again. Now, this fits. This is the 13. A 13 is a 13. What in the world? They're using 13s? Who uses 13s instead of halves? And I dropped my ratchet. But underneath each runner, so there's going to be 8 bolts total, 4 on top, 4 on bottom, and that makes perfect sense to me. If you're a contortionist or a very small person with tiny hands, the easiest access to those bolts is actually on the bottom. So I can get the one, and I was getting underneath the thing and all contortioning like a squid. This is the way. Oh, and the starter's right there too. Easy access to everything here. What's that, oil tube? I think I can get her on there. I think I need to lose the extension. I'll get this one first. Oil tube's in the way of that other one. There we go. Yeah, this is completely un-American experience is what this is. Because these bolts are just sliding right off. And I think I got one more. It's behind the starter that I can't even see, but I'll do it by feel. We're on the far bolt here. Yeah, when I say un-American, I've only broken one bolt on this thing. And that is magical. Let me see if I can get this one by hand. Oh, I had it loosened. That's always the thing. Oh no, that's the one behind it. There we go. That's just popping right off. The 4 on the bottom here. I got one. Let me get the final one. Excuse me, there's another one back there. I need to remove my extension to make that work. I've got other questions that may be important later. We will see. I wanted to remove the automatic transmission on one of these guys. Doesn't seem... Well, it's got to come out that side. Do you have to drop the whole subframe? I assume you do. I assume you do. Not the end of the world. Oh, we're just under here with the threat. The looming threat of dripping oil on myself. Now for the final bolt. Maybe. There we go. And she's a broken loose. And that should be it. Just those 4. But we got the last bolt. And I should be able to pull that whole thing right up. All right, we were getting ahead of ourselves once again. Now, I know that there's a coolant passage in there, of course. And then we got 2 plugs right here. You got the big plug for the distributor. This, by the way, has a crankcase position sensor on here. Distributorless, advanced. And now, everything is off. Everything is a part. So, pull the head this way a little bit. Never forget, heads are heavier than you think. They're all aluminum, but they got some gravity to them. Now, the idea is we're not taking the whole intake with it. Now, I've seen most people have some sort of like hood attachment system to actually lift it up properly. We are not most people. Let me get this intake off. Well, the gasket came off, and we're about to see the damage. One head. Now, let's see here. Intake gasket, or one of them. There's actually 2 of them. Intake spacer. Oh, there is that split port induction. And look at that. There's so much of that going on. We're going to get to the head here in a second. I think we have more than one thing going on here. One, we got adjacent cylinders that actually went over. It actually got all the way into the intake there too. But look at this. What is this gunk on here? Was head gasket in a bottle used on this guy? Because look at that. And you can see that's very much clogged. Oh, head gasket in a bottle. We got a number of things that went very wrong here. Head gasket in a bottle. Come on. That's exactly what that looks like. Where's my screwdriver here? Because look at that crap. In the passages here, all up in here. Those should be wide open. So as you can see, when you do that sort of junk, you're just going to overheat the thing as well. It's everywhere. Look at that. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, look at that silver right there. That you can tell. All right. Multiple failures here. Got the head gasket here. Now this I didn't beat up on removal or anything. But look at that build up there. Jeez. Dropping tools down here. Now let's see our carnage in here. It's not that. Oh. Did we lose... Whoa, how many of these did we lose? How many valve seats did we lose? No wonder she don't start. We got pieces hanging out in there. Oh, man. I feel the sides. Surprisingly. Listen up for my nails. You're going to pull your nail on it. all the way, and you're going to feel for a slot, a gouge, a groove. The rings might still be good. Let me rotate this engine here, and we'll look at this one, the big suspect. But holy moly, look at this head. The pieces are just coming out of here. Now, on 2, on 3, 4 is safe, excellent. But these pieces are everywhere. It must have backfired through the intake. We lost a, well, let's see here. I mean, that looks fine. Is it number 1 that dropped the valve seat? Because look at them pieces. Where did this valve seat come from? I was guessing number 1 here. Let's roll it over here. Maybe not put any more junk into it. But that is a lot. It's like a whole valve seat. No, or maybe that's just the hammering. You can see there. Yeah, that should be completely seated. There is our valve seat that is missing. It's number 1 exhaust that we lost. And you can see that, you can see the gap down there. There's no valve seat there. Let's open that up again. And there's where we're missing. And you can see the difference between how 1 seals and 2 looks like it seals. Rotate. Let me get number 2 open here, and you can see that exhaust. There you are. That is the difference. Valve seat gone. And we're something like this in operation. Isn't that just enjoyable? So, new head. That's where we're at. Let's bar over this motor. We'll take a closer look at number 1 when it's at the top. Well, I'm surprised I couldn't get that with my magnet, sticking it in there. But then again, is that iron? That is iron, isn't it? Well, yeah, of course, valve seats are iron. That's to be expected. And we've got iron walls. Look at all that gunk in there. Toss that out. Get these pieces out of here. A lot of pieces in number 2 as well. All the way to, even down to 3. That's how far that went. And look at it in the intake there. Jeez. Well, there's your problem right there. Now, it is feasible. There was enough debris and junk in there. The valves were colliding. Interesting. To aid combustion, that would be my first thought. When you see a weird design like that, if it's not completely flat or doesn't have the single indent, that it's for combustion. It's maybe useful, maybe a trick, maybe a gimmick, hard to say. But this has a groove here for the valves. The valves are opening up. And when they open up, because it's a Hemi. By the way, screw the Hemi people. Is that not a hemispherical combustion chamber? Darn near the cheapest car you could get in 1997. A hemispherical combustion chamber right there. Seems obvious to me. I don't know. I've never done a valve seat before. You gotta press them in and stuff. You could probably just grind that off. Be imprecise here, just grind off all that damage there. But in order to make this a non-interference motor, because the valves and pistons, you don't want them in the same spot at the same time. It's got these designs in the piston, and that is brilliant. Brilliant. I love it. Absolutely love it. So, what a design. But darn, that is hammered. It even got on the sides there. Yeah, those occupy, that is a flat deck. So that comes right up flat. That's where we were hitting. Right there, flat. And right there, to reduce the combustion area, therefore raising combustion ratio, there's that solid piece right there. So, I mean, we could just take a grinder, just cut that all off, and we can lower compression, put a big turbo on it. But now we're talking pie in the sky. That's my usual MO. It won't be perfect nor ideal. The right thing would be to do, I mean, I gotta feel the other cylinders too. Something was bouncing around in here. See if we scoured the walls at all, because that is going to affect, look, more pieces there. That is going to affect, that one's unaffected, I'll check it too, move it down. It feels perfectly smooth to me. So if you scour the walls, then, I mean, you gotta do a rebuild, you gotta, well, sleeve it or something, overbore it, whatever. It's been a while since I've done one of them. Am I willing to do it for a 1997 Ford Escort is going to be the question. But for this, I think we can slap a new head on her and call her good, or even. But other really cool things. This motor was redesigned in previous years. I think was 97 the first year of the split port induction. The first year for the split port, I forget the years. But before that, this is a 2-liter, 2.0. They had a 1.9, and the horsepower difference is actually pretty significant. What do they do with that horsepower? Because I've driven a 97 with a 5-speed that did not feel compellingly faster than, previous. Like, I used to have a 94 as well. Actually, I still have a 94. Depending on when you watch this video, there may or may not be a video for a 1994 Ford Escort as well. From some 82 horsepower to 112, and that's a 30 horsepower difference. What's the percentage on that? More than 30%? That is a significant difference. One of these bad boys in a sedan with the 2.0, and comparing between the 2.0 and the 1.9, I didn't feel a compelling difference here, and they both were 5-speed. But this is the split port induction. Look at that butterfly valve in there. It's almost like opening up secondaries, isn't it? There's a big motor solenoid something here. See it? That is a significant portion of the intake. But there's no chambers in there. It's just an open cavity. If it was separate chamber, well, I don't even know how you would cast that. That's something. If it was different chambers in the intake, that would make more sense to me. And you can see it on the gasket there as well. In that, how big of a horsepower gain? There must have been something else in design and compression ratio, or to be uneducated. The split port, this thing is only a small part of the equation of increasing the horsepower by 30, significant. So, do they bore it out to do it? I don't think they do it. I don't know. I don't know the specs. I haven't looked them up. Maybe I should know these things before I start making videos on the site. How big of a difference would this make? And secondary question, if one were to slap this onto your old 1.9, how much of a gain would you get? Eh? And now we're talking. Is that even possible? Do they even bolt up? I don't know. Got some soot down there, got some stuff. But interesting that I'll have to. Now, we're not comparing apples and oranges. Again, why can't I compare fruit? This is the slush box, which is about the only option they purchased for this thing. All things equal, which they're not, because you lose quite a bit of horsepower in this hydraulic thing, whatever. You theoretically, with a lock-up torque converter, other than some pumping losses, because there's going to be a pump in there managing the internals, it's basically a hydraulic computer, especially this one, because this is not electronically controlled. Let me double check that. There is a TV cable going to it, which tells me it's not. Rarely, when you're comparing models that offer both a manual and an auto, the gear ratios are rarely the same. Here back in Volvo country, this is an automatic as well. And so it has like a 373 in the back or something. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head. It's a higher 3. It's not quite a 4. 370, 80, who knows. But if you got it in the manual, even if you got the overdrive with the 5-speed, which was a push button overdrive or flip button overdrive, you got a 3.3 in it. And the overdrive ratios are close. I think this is like a 0.73 to a 0.8 on the overdrive, the secondary overdrive for the manuals. So you're getting a lot less rip'ems on the highway. Actually opposite of what you think it would be, because with a torque converter, a torque multiplier at low speed, you would think you can get away with taller gears in the rear. Getting off topic, where did that 30 horsepower go? Is it usable horse? I mean, that's almost $6,000. That's pretty rev happy. Those extra ponies only in the top case, I think so, because if the split port's making that good of a difference, that's going to open up when you're wide open throttle. It's got to be an airflow turbulence thing. If you have a smaller passage at idle, you want that air rushing in. It creates a vacuum, it creates a venturi. This one, look at that turn. Impressive. If you have a big, huge opening, you're not getting proper flow. You're not getting I'm no air scientist or whatever. You're not getting, is it a turbulent flow or a less turbulent flow? I don't know. One of the two. I know you want your air moving relatively quickly, so you can't oversize things. Back in the carburetor days, you slap like a 750 or 800 on a small block Chevy, a 350 or smaller, a 305. I put a 750 on a 305 once, and at idle, it ran like junk. It was somehow lean and rich at the same time. On both, it was detonating and it was lean. But when you opened it up, it was still rich, but it ran okay. Part of that is airflow, and especially in the carburetor where the vacuum's actually what's pulling fuel to the venturis and whatnot. So the airflow, the turbulence of the airflow is important. Well, we've come a long way. We need to regroup. We need to either source a new head or figure out how to slap a valve seat in here I don't know which is more feasible. Good news, parts availability. O'Reilly Auto Parts. They've got it in Washington. They say they can get it here in 2 days for 360 some American whatevers. I can get myself a new head. I can even get it delivered to my door. That just seems like madness to me. Think about it. Head. A new head, $360. The gasket kit from the Rock Auto, because if you get it over at the O'Reilly, it's like $150 or something. But the Rock Auto, a complete head gasket kit, not including the head bolts for some reason, because these are torque to yield bolts. By the way, blow your bolt holes out. We'll get more on that later. So $50 for that. Then I need a timing set as well. And the water pump's already been done, whatever. Don't care about the water pump. I need intake gaskets. Does the head gasket kit include that? I don't recall. But there's 2 of them, as you can see. There's one there and one here. Well, that's a Skookum gasket. Look at that. Whoa, just a Skookum piece of it's insulator. The gasket's right there. The rest is insulator. Same thing there. Well, all right. I would have to look, but I believe the head gasket kit includes head gasket, exhaust gasket, intake gaskets, I think. I will double check. That is $50. Head bolts are going to set me back another $30. Talking about $80, and then the timing set's another $30 or something. So easy another 100, and then miscellaneous parts, like I need an oil pan gasket too, although that doesn't look too bad. You shouldn't reuse gaskets. For under $500, I can get this thing back on this, which makes this thing a $900 Ford Escort, which is still a good price. I mean, look at this thing. Under $1,000 for a running vehicle, a running highway capable vehicle nowadays. That is a steal. And added bonus. Been all up in her guts and everything. I know everything there is to know about the motor. Well, sometimes not knowing is better, because it's pretty rough in those 1 and 2, 1 specifically. Serviceable. I know everything about it. I did all the work myself. I think there's some value in that for me personally. And then I got a good running car until the automatic transmission. With the slush box. That's the next thing. That's the next Achilles heel on these things. Is that Ford? Is it a Ford or is she a Mazda? I mean, come on, Ford. Chevy Hydramatics were any better, the Hydramatic 125s, which would be a comparable unit to what we have in here. As if that was any better during this era. In fact, there's only a 3-speed. Now I'm going to wash up some internet sleuthing and get right back to you on either this head or what we're going to do about this situation here. So I think we got a runner here.